I'm recording.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, go.
Okay, well, good morning, welcome, and first of all, congratulations, because you have all made it to the last session of the District Leadership Academy. So give yourselves like a huge hand, because that was a huge accomplishment.
Round
And I just want to say, honestly, thank you so much for your commitment to this academy. We know that it was a lot of time. We know that we gave you guys crazy homework every single month, and you had to do mentoring, and you had to do, your jobs and your Rotary jobs too. So I was so impressed with all of your commitment to being a leader. I was thinking about it driving to my office this morning, that I'm so impressed and so inspired by all of you to, do all of this, put in all this extra time just so that you can become a leader in our district, so that your impact on the community can be greater. And I was just so inspired by all of you. So thank you for being our inaugural Leadership Academy cohort. I'm going to be sending out a survey to you very shortly this week. So I would like for you to please take some time and fill it out, because all of you are going to be super, super, super instrumental in what next year's academy is going to look like. We want your feedback on how much time this has taken. Was it too much? Was it too little? What topics were good? What topics did you not see? And if you see you have a comment that you want to share that you don't see a question, please, again, in the comments at the end, please write. I want very, very honest feedback on how we can make this better. I was so excited about this one, but I know we can make it better. So I don't want to talk for very much longer. I'm gonna, actually I will introduce the Academy members later, because I don't think we have everyone here. So I'm gonna then throw it to Benson to kind of talk, and I'm gonna try to get the videos ready. Go ahead, Benson.
Okay, cool. So first, I wanna thank Wendy, because when we were in Denver over a year and a half ago, and Naomi was talking about her idea about starting a leadership academy. So Wendy and I were sitting next to each other, right? And so she's talking to both of us, but I couldn't even look Naomi in the eye. I'm just looking at Wendy, right? Like it's Wendy. That's not me, right? Because I don't know if I could sustain something for this long. So I just want a round of applause for Wendy for sticking this thing out and putting it all together and following it through, and every month lining up to speak. So I mean, that's just a Herculean effort that somebody in the district needed to do. I mean, we always wanted to have a leadership academy. Some of us, we got farmed out to other districts because we didn't have one, so we had to go to other districts to do their leadership academy. But this thing, the realization of this leadership academy, is going to be a great thing, and it's going to have really excellent effect on us down the road. So this is our last session today. We're going to talk a little bit about public speaking. Jan's going to come and talk to us a little bit. But I wanted to, just for a few quick minutes, I wanted to share a little story with you that's really kind of personal to me. So you see this slide right here. Let me play for the beginning. So this is my dad right here in the sailor hat. Okay, right here, this guy. This picture was taken in 1928 when he was in the Philippines. He was born in the Philippines. Okay, so he came over because my grandfather decided to join the U.S. Army. So he came over. My grandfather came in 1926 into Schofield Barracks on Oahu. And then my father and all of his siblings and my grandmother and her mother came in 1929. So when my father arrived and he started going to public school, he did not speak a single word of English. So he was 7 years old, started in kindergarten. And because he didn't understand or know the language, he didn't say anything. So for a couple of years, they actually thought he was kind of retarded, because he never engaged, because he didn't have command of the language. So his father told him, look, you're not going to be a citizen someday. You're not going to excel unless you really have command of this language. So he made it, and my grandparents made it their personal mission to make sure that everybody in their family not only spoke, but could speak, write, and read English better than their native Tagalog, which they were raised with. they refused to allow them to even speak Tagalog when they were in their home. So, so then what happened to my dad is that he took that to heart. All right, he never, even though he grew up a lot around basically local guys, he never ever spoke Tagalog or Pidgin English. He always just tried to really get command of the language. And so one of the things that he told me early on, because when I was a kid growing up, he said, when you look at the top of every major successful organization, there's a master communicator out there, somebody who's sharp and somebody who's articulate. And as a young boy, he said, you know, Ben, you obviously you're going to have some difficulties in your life, but if you can learn to be a really good communicator, you can overcome your obvious shortcomings. Which so I did. Okay, and so then the other thing that he told me, or that I learned along the way, is that he said, you know, when he was in his working mode, you know, the 40s, 50s, 60s, he said, you know, we go to work and it's usually the guy who's the most articulate that's the boss. All right. And so what I learned over time is that the leadership style of that era was really command and control, right? You make the command and you control people. But the new style that's here now, and those of you guys that have read The Speed of Trust, you understand that the new style of leadership, it's really about trust and inspire. And if you're somebody as a leader who wants to trust and inspire people, you have to have command of the language to do that. And so my dad encouraged me not only to speak as much as I could, but also to learn to write, because he said one of the ways to make yourself a good speaker is to become a good writer, because then you'll have command of vocabulary and you'll learn to construct sentences. And if you can make that translation between what you write and what you speak, then you'll be an effective communicator, and it'll just open way more doors for you, right? So how does a person become somebody who can trust and inspire? Well, it's the combination of confidence and vulnerability at the same time. So if you go back and you listen to Shaker's first address to Rotary, and he addressed the incoming district governors, he talked about his experiences as a boy when he would walk around India, experiences with the people that he met. So he was able to open himself up and create a level of kind of vulnerability where, hey, I'm here, here's my life, here's who I am. And at the same time, have a level of confidence that he can portray as like, okay, here's the direction we're going to take. You know, here's the way we want to go. And so when people can connect not only to your message, that they trust you as a person and they feel inspired by the things that you have to say, then true leadership begins to take place, and you're in a position where you can really affect them. So basically what I wanted to tell you is that we are in a position, every single person, no matter where they are, and this is one of the things that I learned from my dad, is that we have a tremendous power, all of us. And that power really is to inspire and positively affect and influence other people. And that's what it comes down to. And when you understand that about yourself, is that you have the power every single day to positively affect the people that are out there, then you can get you know, a real understanding of what we're able to do as leaders. Yeah, it's some of the training workshops that I've done. I tell everybody, take your phone out. Okay, take your phone out, and I want you to text this message to somebody. And here's the message. The message is, I just wanted to tell you that I have faith and belief in you and always will. I have your back no matter what. I love you. And text that to somebody, anybody in your realm. Could be your spouse, could be your kid, could be your grandson, could be your coworker, whatever it is. And then wait for what comes back. And when people, and generally I say, okay, when somebody gets a response, raise your hand and I want you to stand up and read it. I mean, within half an hour, the whole room is really in tears because the effect that you have on somebody personally, deeply, that ability to inspire people, it's an amazing thing. And we don't realize that we have it until we use it. So my message today for you is to use it, is to understand that and to use it every day, not just in your Rotary work, but in your personal life, because that is how you build trust and inspiration in people all around you. Okay, so now the part you guys all been waiting for. We're gonna play some videos, and I want to thank you guys who. Hey, thanks, Lane. I want to thank you guys who took the time to do the assignment. Now, it might sound like it's kind of a hokey assignment, but I tell you, these little videos, and I always want to lean on Ted. Ted will tell you, when you post those up and people Rotary story, and they hear how you're inspired by being a part of Rotary, and they hear, you know, what your thoughts are about why it's important to you, it makes a difference when people watch those. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to Wendy because she has some of these queued up, and we're just sort of playing them at random. And so it doesn't, you know, we just want to watch them and kind of absorb them. So there's Kelly, go for it.
Yeah, and Kelly, thank you for sending it. Just the reason I have his is because he just sent it. So I just download it, and I did get yours, Ted, so I'll download that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start playing. Let me know with a thumbs up if you can hear.
Hey, aloha, Andrew, it's Kelly. I'm looking forward to working with you next week when we're going to go to the Salvation Army to the Provider Volunteer Clinic at the Men's Adult Recovery Center. But I want to send you over some other information about another project coming up that you might be interested in. Our Rotary Club, in partnership with others, is helping Project Vision support the administrative work at the COVID vaccine pods. I know vaccinations are an important topic for you as a pharmacist. Check out some of the things that we have going on through Rotary at rotaryinhawaii.org. That's rotaryinhawaii.org. Andrew will be in touch, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Benson, did you want to play and then talk, or you just tell me what to do?
Play a few of them because you know we want Jan is basically our main presenter, but we want to have a chance to see whatever we can see now. But Kelly, super nice job, man. Really great.
Okay, here it comes.
Hey, aloha,
oh, sorry.
Benson. It's Lane. Hope all is well. I know you've been.
Sorry, you have me as your operator, and I'm not like the most tech person in the world. Let me do it.
Hey, that's okay. You're doing great. We're gonna keep you. Yeah.
Hey, aloha, Benson. It's Lane. Hope all is well. Hey, I know you've been really interested in
everybody else's videos.
Work I've been doing. We do have a website that talks about Rotary. It's called rotaryinhawaii.org. And just check them out. It's really quick time, one pager. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm going to send you an email, send you a text with the website info, and we'll talk soon. All right, take it easy. Tell everyone over there I said aloha. All right, mahalo.
I'll go into the next one.
Very cool.
Hi, Jenny. It's Mariko. I'm on the way to volunteer at the beach cleanup at the South Kaanapali Beach, where 2 Rotary clubs in Lahaina are joining forces to collect rubbish and assemble data about the debris at the beach. This is just one of many projects that we are doing to serve our community, and I thought this might be something that you're interested. So please take a look at the website called rotaryinhawaii.org. That's rotaryinhawaii.org. I'll give you a call in a few days to see what you think. Talk to you soon.
Cool. Love it. That's great.
How you doing today? Good. And the tour went well?
I'll stop after this one.
You were back late yesterday, I take it, after taking these folks around the island? Good on you. Yeah, tourism is going up. Well, hey, thanks for giving me a call back. What I had wanted to chat with you about was Rotary and its projects. So the other day we were talking about what Rotary does, and specifically about our project on the 24th of April to go out to James Campbell, a place you know and love, and do some cleanup out there. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, A, take advantage of this offer to come out and join us, and B, take a look at the website, rotaryinhawaii.org. I'll text it to you. That'll give you an idea of the many things we are actually doing here on the island in education, in every other aspect, including your favorite, the environment. So with respect to that, on the 24th, we're going to get a group of 10 of us, including you, assuming you'd like to be aboard, socially distanced. We're going to meet up at the kiosk at James Campbell, a little bit about the refuge, and we're going to go out and do a cleanup on the beach out there. We should be out probably by 11:30 or so. And if you will join us, toss in lunch. We'll talk a little about all the things that Rotary does. And I'm even going to make sure that you're in uniform. I'm going to give you a Rotarians at Work shirt for coming out and joining us. You're going to enjoy it. You meet some great people. What's the date? Okay, sounds great. Mahalo. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Why don't we go ahead and take a pause because I have to queue up more videos.
Okay. Hey, so Conrad made a message in the chat. Conrad, you want to talk a little bit about that? You said that's the approach they do in Ninja Selling, which I haven't heard about, but why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, when you mentioned about you use that instruction to your audience about having people text that a message of care to someone, anyone in your phone directory and whatnot, and you wouldn't believe how the response.
Hi, my name is Conrad K.
Yeah, it's the same approach that they teach you in Ninja Selling, and because it's not about selling and marketing, it's really about the connection, right? So when you reach out to someone and you're not trying to do a hardcore sell or promote yourself or whatever, it's all about, hey, just thinking about you, wanted to let you know that you're in my thoughts, boom, and that's it. Then people respond to that, and that's where you make the connection. And whether you're doing it for business or whether you're doing it to inspire people and lead them and things like that, it's an excellent approach to making connections.
Okay, and hey, that is really a great point. So, you know, the whole thing is about making the connection, and then the message. You know, the message you can always sort of drip it in there over time. But once you make a connection with people, and they get the sense that, wow, you know, here's somebody reaching out to me. They get the sense that that you actually care about them as a person, then they'll open up and start to listen to the message, whatever message you have. So what do you think, Wendy? Ready to go?
You want me to show some more, or you wanted to talk more about the...
Well, no, I mean...
I have one more queued up here. I have Conrad.
Yeah,
since he was...
Let's watch one more. We'll talk a couple more minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Jan.
Okay. Can you guys see this? Yeah, okay.
Great picture.
Oh, what happened? Oh, sorry, that's my... See, again, we need... Okay. No, here we go.
Hi there, it's Conrad here. Quick video message for you. I'm on my way to volunteer at a service project along the Pearl Harbor Historic Trail as part of Rotary in Action Day, where Rotarians from a number of Hawaii
graphics
collaborate with the city and county of Honolulu and the U.S. Navy, thanks to our friends at the Eco Rotary Club of Kaka'ako. This is just one of many service projects that we do throughout the year in the spirit of service above self. If getting involved, giving back to the community, and making lasting changes interests you, check out the website rotaryinhawaii.org. That's ROTARY in Hawaii.org. I do value your gift of feedback, so I'll give you a call in a couple of days. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Let me show one last one that I have queued up.
Okay, Scott. Cool.
How are you? Hey, listen, you're always asking me, what are you doing on all these Saturdays that you're so busy with Rotary? You're always saying that you're doing things with Rotary. Well, you know what? I wanted to reach out because I'm actually on my way to an annual event that my Rotary Club does, where we are going to do what we call Santa Claus. So we're taking 25 of the least fortunate children from Lunalilo Elementary School out shopping. We're taking them to Walmart to buy clothes, school supplies. We're going to take them to breakfast first. But hey, man, you know, just the look on these kids' faces after we've done a little shopping has been phenomenal. And I know that you get a kick out of it, especially since now that your kids are a bit older. I know you're missing kids. So I know this might be a little bit late for you to jump on this, but there's another big event that we're going to be doing with the entire District 5000 with about 5 or 6 other Rotary clubs next weekend. So if you can, check out rotaryinhawaii.org and tell me what you think. I'm going to reach out to you in a couple of days. All right, my man. Take care.
Scott, awesome. So, you know, I want to just reiterate Conrad's point again. It's really about just making that connection. So when people see your face, they hear your voice, they're like, oh, wow, that's Scott. So they'll listen to it. But really, it's really about, they're going to see you, Scott. They're like, hey, man, there's my homeboy Scott, man. He's got something to say. They'll listen to the message and hopefully they'll react to that. But it's just our ability to connect with other people. And everybody has that ability and that skill. And we just have to use it. So that when you guys are out, this is the next basically the next regime of leadership for our district. And that's a valuable thing, that we all understand that we have the ability to show up there and touch every single person that's there simply by making the connection with them, whether it's, you know, the text message, in person, telling your Rotary story. I mean, one of the ways in which we're going to be able to expand our message is we encourage people, tell your Rotary story. So if you're sitting there chatting with somebody, meet somebody, hey, you heard about Rotary, I mean, it's kind of like seamlessly, easily kind of go into it without this whole idea that I have to sort of sell them on this. But this is what I do. And once people can connect that this is what you do, and they understand why it's important to you, then they'll want to look into it deeper. And that's the whole point of it. So, hey, thanks, Master Technician Wendy, for all that. And so, Wendy, why don't you go ahead and introduce Jan? We'll get our program going. And if we have some time at the end, we'll come back and we'll do more videos, because those of you who didn't get their video run, I know you're really anxious to have everybody see your video. So
yes. Yeah, so that was if we have time at the end, we're going to have the one you guys who maybe have your videos and maybe didn't send it to me. I know I have yours, Ted, that I didn't download yet. That'll be your chance to share your video. Actually, before I introduce our very special speaker, Jan, I wanted to also introduce you to our Leadership Academy. My apologies, I was stressing out about showing the video, so I did not even take roll, so I'm not sure who's here, but when I say your name, if you could just give a wave to Jan and to Michelle. So we have Doug Adams for the Rotary Club of South Hilo. Excuse me. Ted Fago from the Rotary Club of Poipu Beach, Kauai. Goodness. James Ham from the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunset. David Hamill from the Rotary Club of Waikiki. Mariko Higashi from the Rotary Club of Lahaina Sunset, representing the female. We're going to get more females next year, right? Conrad Ike from the Rotary Club of Ala Moana. Lane Kohama from the Rotary E Club of Hawaii. David Livingston from the Rotary Club of Waikiki. Richard May from the Rotary Club of Kapolei. Kelly McDonald from the Rotary Club of Diamond Head Kaimuki. Sean Slentz from the Rotary Club of Downtown Honolulu, and Scott Wishart from the Rotary Club of Ala Moana. So you can see all of the, and we have our district governor line. We have our district governor-elect, Sandy Matsui, and is Randy is, District Governor nominee Randy Hart. Sorry, lots and lots of faces I have to look through. So we have quite a group here for you. These are our future leaders and our, immediate future leaders, our district governor line, but these are the ones that have stepped up. They have been club presidents before, and they're going to be the future leaders that will lead our district. To all of you, I am so honored to introduce Jan Kael, who is the principal owner and trainer at Dale Carnegie Training, Hawaii and Guam. And at Dale Carnegie Training, they ignite workplace enthusiasm. They help people to develop their professional skills in the areas of team engagement, sales effectiveness, customer service, leadership, management, presentation effectiveness, and process improvement. Basically, everything that you need to do to run a stronger business. They assist individuals, teams, and organizations to increase their effectiveness through executive coaching, consultation, and workshops that drive bottom line results. And she, of course, can speak much better to what she does than I do. I can. So please give a virtual welcome to Jan Kaeo. Jan, it's all yours.
Oh gosh, thank you everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. For several reasons. One is, I don't know if you know that our former owner of Dale Carnegie Training, Hawaii and Guam, was a district governor for your district, Jim Varner. And actually, I don't know if you know that he passed away recently. And so it is a great honor to step in with him as our foundation, knowing his commitment to service and just the passion about the way he led his life. And it was all about Rotary and all about Dale Carnegie. So thank you for having me. I brought with me today Michelle Kennedy. She is our newest team member, finally in Hawaii. She's been with us for just over a year, working from our 9th island in Las Vegas. And Michelle is a key part of our delivery and growth. And so I thought she would really love to meet some people who are making impact in the community. And so speaking of that, you have such an incredible opportunity. And I'm so glad about what you said, Benson. It is about making impact. And yes, you are a part of the Rotary, but even more importantly, you have an opportunity to speak to people on a weekly basis. Rarely does a professional have the ability to make that much impact on an ongoing weekly basis. So Benson, you're so right. You have so much power at your hands to transform lives, not just by what you do, but by the way that you communicate. So becoming more and a more effective communicator is really the key to your initial success and also your legacy as a leader in Rotary. So when Dale Carnegie started 115 years ago, just about 109 years ago. Thank you, Michelle. He started with presentation training out in Harlem, New York. And he found very quickly that it was an essential skill for success. He also found out very quickly that it wasn't just public speaking, but it was so important to connect. So there again, Benson, you talked about the power of connection. It all starts with that connection. And so when you are a public speaker, whether it's virtually or in person, your ability to connect is a key to your ability to make impact. So how do you do that? How do you, especially in the virtual world, connect and build trust and credibility quickly? When you are a professional and a professional speaker, you have the power of that instant impression, right? That first impression. And right from the get-go, what you say, what you do, how you look, and how you say it will create that impression. And the good news is you have the ability to control that first impression, right? So when you show up, either in person or virtual, make sure you are in control of that first impression, because everything after that is either reinforcing that and they're focusing on your message, wanting to connect with you and your message, or they're really confused and they're trying to make sense of what they see, what they hear, and how you're saying it. So you have control over that. We're going to go over some 10 best tips to do that virtually, but know that that's the first thing. Make the great first impression. And you know that. You've been speaking for a long time as leaders in Rotary all around our state. But are you intentional about the impression that you're creating? Or are you kind of letting it happen? Many times we focus on our message, but we don't focus on how we show up. Maybe we're not practiced. How many of you practice before you deliver a presentation? Yeah. Okay, good. That's good. I know we all prepare, but how many of us practice? Ah, okay, good. We have a couple of hands. Good. And those of you who raised your hands, help me understand, how do you practice?
Recently in the Zoom world, I would turn on Zoom because you can turn it on by yourself. And you can watch yourself and you can see, you know, because you got to practice because you have your notes over here and you're talking over there. And it really helps you get into that mindset and that mode.
Ah, good. So you do live practice, Lane?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And Scott, you had your hand up too. How do you practice?
You know, I would dovetail a little bit on what Layden was saying. I actually will admit I don't practice probably nearly as much as I should, but same thing in the Zoom world. It's made it kind of a bit easier to have some notes plastered everywhere and see yourself on camera. So
okay,
good.
Good. You guys are really onto something, live practice. And Sandy, you also had your hand up.
I did. In addition to what Lane and Scott said, I take my script and put it under my pillow in hopes that through osmosis, it will go into my mind.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? If you're able to bottle that, you've got some customers ready to go. Absolutely. Many of us practice in our head, right? Especially as you're driving to or getting ready for a presentation, we practice in our head. And have you noticed that that practice in your mind is amazing? Like, you make impact. You could bottle that thing and sell and make $1 million. It's absolutely perfect, especially if you practice over and over again. But somehow, if we don't practice live, when it comes out, it's never what we practiced in our head. It's never that good, right? So Lane and Scott, good for you. You are practicing live. That's one of the key tips to being an effective presenter, is practice live. Even better, record it, just like you both are doing. Record it and play it back, because you have an opportunity to check yourself, see what you like, see what you want to improve. It's a last minute virtual practice before you get ready to be online. So those are good tips going forward now that we've discovered the power of Zoom. So do more of that and you'll be able to show up the way you want to show up, right? But before we begin, let's talk about some of the talks that you're actually giving. We saw some video messages, and what a great way to capture the attention of your audience, especially when you have short messages that want to make the most amount of impact. You also can record it once and send it to more people. So great use of time and efficiency. What kind of presentations are you going to be making, or are you making now? In the chat, could you give us some idea of what kinds of presentations you're making, and maybe how long are they? So I see Slents. I think that's a combination of your first and last name. What does that mean, Paul Harris presentations?
So like, for example, you're getting up and recognizing donors to the Paul Harris Foundation. So you would get up and explain a little bit about the foundation, explain the significance of the level that they're giving at, recognize them, maybe a personal note, thanking them specifically. So I do that in front of we've started meeting in person, like hybridized meetings now. So I've been doing that. And then also recently we have a relationship with Central Middle School. So like, we've been doing videos on their Instagram to promote the Teacher of the Year award. We want students to nominate a teacher, and then we give a little cash award to the 3 best teachers. And so it's something to try to motivate the kids, but they don't want to hear all about Rotary or anything like that. So instead focus on, is there a teacher that you really care about and has done a great job for you? And this is your chance to recognize them with the help of the Rotary Club and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And Doug, you said you're doing 2 minutes to 2 hours.
I didn't think you were going to call on me. I shouldn't put anything in.
No, absolutely want to hear from you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about that. To be honest, I was thinking about this early on. I have a face for radio and a voice for silent movies, and so that's typically the way I think about this thing. And if I don't think about it too much, then I can walk into a situation and not be all I'm like this. I have no idea what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you for your candor and your transparency. Many of us begin a position of leadership just like you're describing. We have clear thoughts, we're recognized because we are a leader, and then we get in front of people and the person that shows up isn't who we really are. But you know what? It's a skill that you can develop. So good for you to embrace leadership and just do it. What you just described, Doug, is very typical of what happens when we're focused on ourselves. And Rotary is all about service to others. When you have an opportunity to speak either virtually or in front of a group, can I suggest that you put the total focus on the people that you're speaking to, and your desire to connect with them with the message that you have prepared to deliver. When you do that, you'll find that you will be less concerned about how you're showing up and be more concerned about how you're going to impact others, which is what your mission is in Rotary. The other thing I might suggest for you is to get rid of that nervousness that might be in the gut, but also in the rest of the body, is to make sure that you maybe go to the restroom, or if you're behind a curtain, and shake it off, right? Shake it off, do some stretching. What that does is it expands your physical presence so that your comfort zone actually expands. So what happens traditionally is when we're really nervous, we kind of go inward. We cross our hands. We are getting ourselves centered, right? But really what that does is it kind of closes you in. What you want to do is kind of open up that physical energy so that you are more relaxed and ready to go. Sound good? That goes for all of us. That goes for all of us. And let's hear from one more. Panel speaking, Lane, about cybersecurity, and they're about 25 to 30 minutes long. And do you see yourself doing more of that over the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Yes, I have a bunch kind of planned out 6 months ahead in advance.
Okay.
So it's been great. It's been great.
Good. And are you the primary, you said panel discussions. So is your part 25 minutes?
For panels, it's a little bit, most of the talks are all, I'm the featured speaker talking about cybersecurity. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when you're in a panel, it's a little bit different, right? You have to make sure that you are presenting and making impact, but in collaboration with the other panel speakers. So it's a different kind of mindset. And you want to be mindful of who is with you on the panel so that you can show up and leave the greatest amount of impact. Sometimes you'll see panel speakers get up and they, like many of us, they're rushing to their meeting. They know what they want to say, but sometimes there's conflicts. And it doesn't flow the way you want it to flow. So just if you are on a panel, also think about who's going to be there. Not just who's going to be on the panel, but who's going to be in the audience so that you can make the greatest impact without conflict, without that edge that doesn't seem to rub the right way.
Oh, thanks, Jan. That's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Want to make sure that this brief training and presentation is relevant to you. Many of us have been, I want to say, forced to be in the virtual world instead of being live face-to-face. How many of you are now preferring the virtual world over live face-to-face meetings? Ooh, we got a lot more hands. Help us understand. It's kind of half and half. Help us understand why those of you who didn't raise your hand, why you prefer the live face-to-face presentation opportunities. James, come on audio and tell us.
Yeah, I'm responsible for teaching medical students and graduate doctor nurse practitioner students, and they just don't pay attention. And you try to call them out on things, and they just don't respond. I was actually in my first Zoom class last year. The entire 25 students no one had their screens on, right? So just basic Zoom etiquette, first of all. But second, there's just a lot of, and I'm sure that Wendy can probably attest to this, you know, being in education as well. But I think it's one thing when they're students, you know, underage, you know, they're growing, you know, et cetera. But these are like professionals, you know, these are. So I thought that was kind of rude, first of all. But secondly, I realized I just can't get that. I'm actually more in tune with kind of nonverbal communication, non-facial expressions. Probably that's probably how I kind of maybe get reassurances that people are understanding things. And maybe I'm just traditional in that Socratean method of one-on-one, you know, knowledge basis. I've even had students like I ask questions, and I've even had students ask me like, well, why don't you know the answer? You're the professor, right? And but point of asking the question isn't because I don't know the answer, right?
Right.
So and this is all through chat. That's why it's fun, right? So I think I lose a lot through chat and a lot through this virtual environment. So I'm just, you know, we just started doing things back in, and you can't do procedures and other things that you can train hands on either, right? So I was trying to train some students in Maui how to do a certain procedure via Zoom, and it was just, it didn't go very well. So I definitely prefer the hands-on in class.
Yeah, thank you. And what I hear you saying is you applied your effective presentation skills in the virtual environment, and only some of them crossed over. One of the things that we've discovered since March of last year is while you're able to do more in the virtual, physically more in the virtual environment, what worked in the face-to-face environment does not necessarily work in the virtual environment, such as they can turn off their camera and do a million things and not really be present in your training or your presentation. So you're right, being able to get them all on camera is a skill. Keeping them on camera is a different skill. And James, just a kind of a quick tip, this isn't in my presentation, but a quick tip that is often helpful is, and this is part of our teaching, is that when you want them to do something, you tell them what you want them to do first, and then you tell them you tell them how you want them to do it first, and then you tell them what you want them to do. So for example, in the chat, tell us how many presentations you are doing per year, as opposed to how many presentations are you doing in a year? Write it down in the chat, which is number one, you lose time. And number two, they don't have a direction. And so immediately they check out when an activity comes. But when you tell them first, grab your annotation tool and go on the whiteboard and tell us, now they know what to do and they start doing it, so that you have the flow. Your flow is much better. So maybe that tip will help you get them even more engaged. Yeah.
And Jan,
we'll try. Thanks.
Yes, Michelle.
Dick May had a comment. I think he's been wanting to add in here.
Yes. Go ahead, Dick.
Well, thank you. Obviously, if you look at my hair, you would assume that I was an anti-Zoom dinosaur, but I actually liked Zoom and the other virtual methods. The positive to that is that people who are reticent about attending, particularly under our current COVID restrictions, will frequently attend meetings. But I still prefer face-to-face meetings for a couple of reasons. Wherever it's possible to be in an informal setting, and I lead a lot of tours for several organizations as a volunteer, it's a chance to get to know my audience a little bit informally, because it's a two-way street in communication. I like to be able to tailor what I say and how it's presented to still get all of the facts across, but be able to do it so that we can tailor it to their particular desires. The nonverbals are very important as well. And so that helps to me to see the nonverbals in terms of the feedback and the fact that in a face-to-face situation, the people are indeed present. If they fall asleep, I may notice that, but generally it's a lot easier than, as you pointed out, to go ahead and put your screensaver up and wander off to do another chore. So those are, to me, are positives. Both work. I think we need to use both in hybrid meetings, but I still like face-to-face. It's just engaging with people.
Yeah. And especially if we're people, right? We love being around others, physically being around others. This has been a real challenge to transfer those skills and that experience in a virtual setting. So the first thing you want to do when you get ready to do a presentation is you want to show up and make a great first impression. You know that. You want to also be memorable. And so one of the first things that you want to do when you introduce yourself is, it's not so much about introducing yourself and having a great introduction, but being able to allow your audience to see you and hear you. And so you want to be clear and concise. Clear in the virtual environment is really, really important. Those of you who are old Dale Carnegie people might remember that when we introduce ourselves, we use a process called pause, part, punch. So you have your greeting, and then you pause. That slight pause, if their people are not paying attention, it's going to cause them to stop and refocus on you. First name, then you say your first name. And unless you have only one name, like your name is Cher, unless you have only one name, this doesn't apply. If you have two names, a first name and a last name, put a little space between your first and last name, because when you do that, they're going to catch your entire name. So we don't want to just have a one monosyllable. Introduce yourself with a pause between your greeting and your first name, part your first and last name, and then punch out your last name, because that also grabs their attention. So that might sound just like this. Hello, my name is Jan Kael. And it may sound a little awkward or unnatural at first, but just like many skills, if you keep practicing, it's going to become more comfortable and you will be more confident in doing that. Normally we would do this individually, but let's just all do it together. Come on audio, and let's just practice that really quickly. Introducing yourself. Hello, my name is, your first name, little pause, punch out your last name. Can we do that? Let's do it now. Let's try it. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. My name is.
My name is.
My name is
Michelle.
Kennedy.
Yeah. How's it gonna go?
It's chaos. It's chaos. Thanks everyone for participating. And you know, that's one way to keep your audience engaged, is get them to participate. You know, another simple rule, again, this is something that we teach in our classes, but I think it's so important for you guys to know this, is when you're in the virtual setting, make sure your audience is participating at least every 2 minutes. If not, just like Dick said, they might be falling asleep and you won't know because their camera's off. You want to make sure that they're still with you. So make sure that they are doing something every 2 minutes, okay? Let me show my PowerPoint. And before we run out of time, I want to make sure that you have the 10 tips for being effective online, since I think we're going to be online for a little while longer. And I want to make sure you are making the maximum impact on your audience. So let me bring up a PowerPoint. And Michelle, you can give me a thumbs up if we are exactly where we need to be. Okay, here we go. Just like all of us, 91% of professionals have been on at least one remote meeting, including this one, in the last 7 days. And for Rotarians, they should be in a meeting at least once a week, right? Here or anywhere else in the world. Tip number 1, make sure you show up the way you want to show up, because you can make or break your first impression by how you show up. People make a judgment right away, and you want to make sure that you're in control of at least that part. Make sure your grooming matches the audience that you're going to be talking to, so that you're not a distraction. You're actually building trust and credibility quickly, and then you can move forward on your messaging, connecting, and then your messaging. Tip number 2, make sure you have good lighting, right? Here's a really quick tip. Your lighting might be really good in the morning, but as the sun sets, if you're sitting next to a window, that lighting changes and you don't want to be looking like the creepy guy or the lady with shading on one side of her face and not the other, right? And the other thing I think we make, we know we need to have light, but you want to make sure that the light is in front of you and not behind you, right? If the lighting is too dark, you look like you have a floating head. And there again, your visual isn't supporting your presentation. It's actually being very distracting. And with so many of us working from home, we have lots of distractions. Our goal is to minimize them. Sometimes you can't prevent your cat from walking across your screen or your child showing up in your meeting, but that should be the exception and not the rule, because you have some control over that part. Next tip. Next tip is make sure your computer camera is placed at eye level. When you are looking down at your PowerPoint, if we were face to face across of each other, it looks like you're looking down on me, right? By the same token, you don't want to be looking too far up because it looks unnatural. So if your goal is to connect and build trust and credibility quickly, make sure that do your best. It's not always perfect, but that your camera is at eye level. And the key there is maybe sit 18 to 24 inches away from that camera and make sure you're looking at the camera. Because when you look at the camera, the person on the other side feels like you're looking at them. Now, here's the challenge, is when you're looking at your notes that you have carefully placed around that camera, this is what it looks like. And then you lose connection with the audience. So just be mindful of that. Lance, you talked about practicing. Watch yourself when you're practicing on a Zoom to see that speaker on the other side that you're reviewing looks like they're looking at you. Okay, tip number 4. Some of us may not have a great background. The good news in Zoom is you can create your own background and upload it. Right? So you could make it a textured background. You could make it a piece of artwork. The bull and the bear is from Jody and world-renowned artist Jody Endicott. You can take lots of backgrounds from other locations. You can even make a solid background and put your logo on there. But if your natural background isn't the background that you want to present, it's not the image that you want to present, it's not relevant to the audience, and it's a distraction, take a moment to do a different background and upload it in Zoom. It's very easy. You can add more or less depending on the audience that you're speaking to. Consider a virtual background. And as always, there are people in your circle who know how to do this. I was talking to someone about creating a micro-learning project. And one of the ways that they are doing learning now for their organization is they tell their people to just Google it. I'm sure there's a YouTube video on it. So if you also want to do that, know that there are tons of YouTube videos on how to make a virtual background. Okay. Tip number 5 is make sure you're making positive eye contact and don't forget to smile, right? One would think that smiling is as natural as the sunshine, especially in Hawaii, but some people really have to work on smile. One of Dale Carnegie's human relations principle number 5, happens to be smile. And the reason is some people are really smile challenged. That's not the way they normally present themselves, and they need to work on it. The good news is it can be for you a skill. So make sure that you're smiling. In the chat, tell us why a smile is so important. In the chat, tell us why a smile is so important. a warm connection. Thank you, Lane. What else? It's engaging. Yeah, you warm up the room. There you go. It breaks down barriers, right? I was going to say when, but it's not really when, because you're already leaders for Rotary. You represent Rotary. So I'm hoping you want to be the kind of leader that the Rotary deserves. One of the things that I heard all of your messages that were played today talk about was how to connect, how to build more community, how to build more membership in Rotary. And a smile is a way to welcome someone in to be a part of the organization. So a smile goes a long way. If you need to practice that, as I talk to many technical professionals who don't have that skill, that's why they were technical. They didn't want to be people managers, but now they are. They need to learn how to develop that skill. So it's a skill. Practice in the mirror, find a smile that you really like if that's you, and use that one. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the more natural it'll become. Okay, so make sure that we're smiling. Let me go back to that PowerPoint. Okay, so smile. As you look at yourself in your video right now, be aware that the 4 blocks on the left are really common. Michelle and I are working with a producer who was used to working in another platform where he didn't have to be on camera all the time. So for him, this upper right-hand corner was a regular facial expression. But now that we're working with him on Zoom and he needs to be on camera, that expression is no longer desirable. He needs to act like he wants to be there and needs to show it on his face. His face needs to reflect that. So we want to make sure that we're just aware of our own facial expressions. Tip number 6 is make sure you're sitting up straight. It's very easy when no one's looking to be this way. This same gentleman I'm talking about just on Tuesday night leaned over and was taking some notes, and he has no hair up here and he has a light shining right on his head. It was quite impactful is a good word to use. Make sure that that's not us. The other thing that you can do when you're online is to demonstrate engagement is to lean forward just a little bit. So let's try this, everyone. Sit up straight. Just kind of adjust your posture, sit up absolutely straight, right? It's what you want to look like. And everyone look at, hopefully you can see everyone on your screen, or at least 4 or 5 people on your screen. Now, that's what it looks like sitting up straight. Let's lean forward just like 10 or 15 degrees and see what that looks like. Now it looks like you're excited and interested to be in the room, right? Here's a clue. If you have a group of Rotarians that are speaking to a larger group of maybe Rotarians that are not part of the organization, not part of the presentation, or you're in a group of non-Rotarians, maybe students and the like, to support the speaker, when you lean forward, that nonverbal, many of us talked about the power of observing nonverbal, that nonverbal gesture increases the engagement in the virtual room, and you can impact just by your body movement the rest of the group. When more people become more interested by that, just that simple move, observe what happens to other people in the room. They also will lean in. So that's a way to, without saying a word, being able to impact your audience. Okay. Your posture says a lot about your confidence, right? If you're too far from the screen, you look disengaged. So you want to be about 18 to 24 inches from your camera. Okay. Tip number 7 is pay attention to sound. Try your best to be in a quiet space. I often am in a morning meeting and I hear lots of roosters. If that's your environment, get a headset or some earbuds because they have noise canceling features that will drown out some of the ambient noise. Trash truck going down the road, kids getting ready for school. It won't drown out all of the ambient noise, but it will cancel a lot of it. So you want to make sure that you're ready to be your best. Many times I have these great Apple earbuds that are amazing, and I use them when I'm on the phone, but I don't use them in training because I want to model the value of a headset, because a headset also has a microphone that really helps the quality of your voice. If you haven't heard or take note of or evaluated the quality of your voice, do what Lane and Scott are doing. Record yourself on Zoom, it's super simple, and then play it back and ask yourself, is this a voice that I want to listen to? Or is it, maybe it's scratchy, maybe it needs to be louder. You have the opportunity to adjust, coach yourself, and make those necessary improvements. One of the things when you are making a presentation virtually or in person is always have water, right? Always have water, because you may need to hydrate. I can hear my voice getting a little scratchy. You want to make sure you hydrate. So have water. If you're not used to speaking all of the time, make sure that water is not ice water, because ice water will close up and make it tight, and warm or tepid water will open up your vocal cords so you don't damage them. And you're going to be doing a lot of speaking over the next year. You want to make sure you keep your vocal cords healthy. Okay, so tip number 8. Tip number 8 is nonverbal is important. Dr. Albert Mehrabian, who's been studying, he's a psychologist out of UCLA, has been studying nonverbal communication for over 10 years. And he talks about how nonverbal communication make up, along with that voice, 93% of the communication picture. When you use gestures, make sure your gestures are first purposeful, like they have a meaning. What we don't want to do is we don't want to have those gestures. You see some new speakers do this. They're nervous, so everything has this gesture. So I want to tell you about what I want to tell you today, and it's really important. I was meeting someone, and we call this the penguin. We don't want to be the penguin, right? We also don't want to be jingling. If you have money in your pockets, you don't want to be jingling, so take things out of your pockets and be aware of putting hands in your pockets and talking. Because while that keeps you centered, it can also be distracting when that nervous energy goes out to your fingertips. When you are online, you want to make sure that your gestures are also purposeful, but you want to make sure that you slow them down. Because when you do this, it looks very less than confident, and it's distracting. So just be purposeful, slow it down just a little bit, okay? So that your gestures are supporting your presentation instead of distracting from it. Tip number 9, and we're almost there. We want to reduce our nervous body language. So be aware if you are someone that rocks back and forth as you're talking. I used to be really good at pen tapping because it's distracting. Women more than men, make sure we're not twirling our hair. It's also distracting. And if you need to take that big yawn, because sometimes that happens, turn off your camera. Just turn off your video if you have to make that big yawn, and then turn it back on. Okay, that's tip number 9. And the final tip is be on time. If you are the presenter, even if your host is going to say that they're going to turn it on 5 minutes ahead of time and let you in, be early, because you never know, no matter how prepared and how equipped you are, you never know when your technology is going to fail. So you want to be on time, ready to go, because when you're early and something does happen, you have the ability to fix it and not get frazzled when things go wrong. I've been completely prepared, 2 or 3 options for video ready to go, and my whole internet has gone down. Michelle and I ran a class on my phone with my hotspot because 3 computers went down, the Wi-Fi went down in the area, there was an accident, and the show must go on. So be on time, be early, be prepared with plan A, B, and C, and that will help you to be more confident. So those are just some quick tips on how to be effective in person and online. One last thing about online that's so different is we talked a little bit earlier about how some of the effectiveness, the presentation skills don't necessarily transfer completely online. One thing that few people recognize is that in an online environment, you have to have more energy and more enthusiasm, about 10 to 15% more, in order for you to connect with your audience. If you speak naturally, it's good, but it somehow doesn't penetrate and the virtual world to the other side. So you need to be even more energetic and enthused, even more excited about what you have to offer. It'll make a huge difference when you practice that. Those of you who are practicing online with Zoom, practice that normal and then push it a little bit, which is why you definitely want to have water ready to go. Finally, Dale Carnegie said that when you are making any kind of presentation, of course, you want to be clear, concise, prepared, excited, but he said, start with the end in mind. So start with, what do you want your audience to walk away from? What's in it for them, right? What do you want them to say about you when you are finished with your presentation? Talk about something you've earned the right to talk about. So you are either an expert or well-versed. A quick tip is know at least 10% more than the audience about what you're going to speak about. Be eager to tell them, like it matters to you to talk about this topic. So you're excited about it. And be excited, because if you're not excited about your topic, they're definitely not going to be excited about your topic. In fact, they're going to be less excited than you are, because that's going to come through in the nonverbal and the verbal messaging. So my question for you today is, as we're closing this presentation, when you're done with your presentations, what do you want them to say about you? Imagine you're done, you've delivered your best. What do you want them to say about you as a presenter? And let's go around the room and see what kind of ideas we come up with. Let's start with Scott. What do you want them to say about you?
What do I want my
your audience?
My audience. I want them to say that that I seemed like I was very caring and engaged.
Okay.
And I want them to walk away with something that they can remember about me.
Okay. Thank you. How about you, Sean? What do you want them to say about you?
Well, I want to, I think I kind of want to echo Kelly's, is that I want them to feel like they got something from the presentation. I also want them to feel like they kind of made a connection with me somehow. Because often I'm presenting because I want somebody to do something with Rotary or get involved in a project or get more involved in the club. So that's kind of my end goal.
Okay. Yeah. So you want them to be excited to be a part of whatever project you're talking about.
To be a part,
nice.
To feel included, enthused, and that it was valuable.
Good, thank you. How about you, Doug? What do you want them to say about you as a speaker when you're done?
Actually, I don't want them to say anything about me as a speaker. What I want them to think about is that their government cares about them and is listening to them. Since that's usually most of what I'm doing, is talking as a representative of our county.
Okay, thank you very much. How about you, Dick?
Well, I think that the message we deliver is the what and the how. But what I want them to do also, if they're to embrace the what and the how we want them to do, is to understand the why. I want them to see that I'm not an unreconstructed evangelist, but on this topic, I am a believer. I have bought into what I'm doing. I'm enthusiastic about it, and I want to share it with them so that they understand why it is that we're having this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. How about you, James? What do you want them to say?
I think I like to kind of dovetail off what Doug was saying. It's the message. You know, I just want them to not have any issues. Seems to be, I don't know, I always seem to get negative feedback. So probably because I'm monotone and I'm boring and I'm half asleep during my presentation. So if they could forget any of the negativity, I would just be happy.
So for you to be more impactful, we might want to work on some of those skills, right? So that what you just talked about is not distracting, but in fact, the way that you're communicating is enhancing the message so that they take action. You know, in any presentation, no matter how effective that message is, how well planned, how purposeful that message is, if they don't buy you, the speaker, first, then it takes away from the opportunity to make impact. So we need to show up the way we want to show up in order to make the most impact and to make the most use of our time. Lane, how about you?
I'm sorry. I'm also subject to surveys too. So if I get students that survey my presentations, I'm not sure if many of you guys get that feedback from your audience, but sometimes it's pretty alarming. Sometimes it's pretty unnerving too.
Well, James, you know, I'm not selling today, but I want you to know that we can help you if you would like that help. We're available. Thank you. Lane, how about you? What do you want them to say about you?
I just like Sean and everyone else said, you know, I want them to feel like they got something out of the talk. I want them to feel like they had fun too, like they really enjoyed themselves, you know, at the talk. So they got something, but they had fun, and hopefully they'll promote me so I can help more people.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You know, I'm so sorry. I keep quoting Dale Carnegie, but it's what I do. Dale Carnegie said that people rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they're doing. So you're on to something. People need to have fun. Thank you. Yep, there you go. How about you, Sandy? Come on, audio. There you go.
There, I think I have to follow also what Doug had to say earlier. Because I'm very self-conscious about presentations, but you know, I think what it's all about is really having your target audience focusing on themselves, their reactions and how they're feeling about the message that was delivered, and hopefully the enthusiasm about it. I hope that's what they focus on. I wouldn't want to. But I understand what we're trying to do here.
Yes, yes. And when you're enthusiastic about something, they will also be enthusiastic. So very good. Very good. Very good. How about you, Benson? You're a pro.
Just want people to say that was better than Doug's. But I do want to give you some feedback.
That's a low bar, my man.
You know, you're my brother, so I can say that to you. I did want to, I do want people to have the sense to be thinking about, I got something out of that, or that was worthwhile to me. People have said that, but I want to just tell you that the big takeaway for me on today is the power of co-presenting with somebody who's putting the notes down in the chat. This is the first meeting I've ever been in where the presenter had a co-presenter who was putting the notes in the chat. I mean, I've been writing all this thing about how powerful that is. So thank you for sharing. That was the big takeaway for me for today. But thank you, Michelle. And that was super, super.
Well, you know, Benson, people learn differently. And if our goal is to have them either remember or recall or take action, some of us will learn by watching. and hearing. Some of us learn by reading. And so we want to make sure that we give them all aspects of learning so that they have the opportunity to learn their way and be able to take action. So good observation. Wow. How about you, Wendy?
Similar to what others have mentioned, I'm always very cognizant or concerned about people's time, as well as I know how busy I am. And so whenever I speak, or if I am moderating a meeting or a panel, I want to make sure that it was worth their time. And maybe sometimes what they're getting out of it is not the intention. Like maybe, but maybe if there's one takeaway that will somehow impact their work or their life, or just make their day something. I don't want it to be a wasted hour.
Nice.
So that's the one thing, for me.
Provide value. So Mariko and then Ted.
Yeah, I think, I would like my audience to really get excited, enthused, when I finish talking. But I think, what I try to make it better is, why am I talking about such and such subject? And then to be very clear about it, because what I learned that the adults really need to know why we are doing certain things. So I try to make it clear why I am speaking, why this project is so important, and so that it's very clear to them. And then just for myself, I'm not a native English speaker, and so for instance, pronouncing R is very difficult. So some very often I ask, when I say Rotary with 2 R's, it's sometimes people ask, Rotary? And so I was very impressed when Conrad made that reference to Rotary in Hawaii. He spelled out ROTARY in Hawaii. So those are the small things that I myself have to take make an attention, or pay attention.
Nice. And you're really onto something, Mariko, because leaders and sellers who are selling their ideas or products or services always needs to start with the why. Why is it important to them, right? We need to sell the value of whatever you're talking about. Well done. Ted and then Randy, we're almost done.
Well, like Sandy, I also want people to feel some enthusiasm, that I'm enthusiastic to engage with them and speak with them. Yes. I want them to feel like they're engaged, that I'm not just reading a script with them, but I'm interacting and having a dialogue with them and communicating information.
Nice.
I hope that they will think that I'm clear and competent about what I'm talking about. And I also hope that they'll feel like at the end of the time, they've walked away with at least one thing that was useful.
Good. Keep that in mind as you prepare for your next presentation, and that will happen for you. Randy and then Kelly.
Being near the last, there's very little to be said yet, but I just hope that the audience feels that I am credible, and that they understand the importance of the message. If I can get those 2 points across, I think I'm at least maybe as good as Doug, but and not as good as Benson, but Benson's a hard act to follow.
And it's that form of flattery. I'm sure Benson is feeling really good about it. We are never going to be someone else, so just be the best version of you. And show up as your best in the moment, in the day, and you'll really make impact. Kelly and then Conrad.
I think for me, being able to answer for an individual that attended, what was in it for them, leave them with something that they can take back to their organization, some call to action, something that's going to help, give them a skill or a bit of knowledge or a resource that they didn't otherwise possess that will make their experience improved and easier, so that they'll share the message.
And Kelly, permission to coach you really quick. would you mind if I use you as an example?
Sure.
So this happens so many times in the beginning. Could you lower your camera? Are you able to lower your camera just a little bit?
I can, yeah.
Okay. And then could you repeat your message? And I'm going to ask you to look right in the camera and tell us the exact same message. And let's see the difference that makes.
The thing I want to leave people with is an answer to what is in it for them, to impart better knowledge, to impart better tools, better resources, to improve their efficiency and success in their work.
Yay. So give us a reaction on how Kelly did the second time around. Kelly, when you look in the camera, you look credible, you look confident, and you have the opportunity to make great impact. Keep doing that, and you're going to accomplish exactly what you said the next time around. Good job. Good job. Conrad, and then finally, Dave.
Yeah, I think everyone has said a lot of what I want to get from my audience. But I subscribe to 3 E's: educate, engage, and entertain. And so, if I'm very purposeful and intentful with my presentation, I think I will achieve those 3 E's. I just want to make a quick comment about Dale Carnegie. My first experience with Dale Carnegie was in my early 20s. That was like some 30-something years ago. And one of the best advice that I got from them was, if I'm not a natural smiler, then I need to work on that. And I am not a natural smiler. In fact, I probably don't like to smile. But I always psych myself up in the morning. And that means looking at the mirror and giving myself some validation and some confirmation. And that's how I can get through the day when I know that I'm going to be in front of an audience.
Oh, nice. Well, I don't know what you're like before the smile, but with the smile, you look really friendly and approachable, and someone that I want to listen to when you have a message online. So I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And finally, Dave.
Thank you, Jan, for this great presentation. You know, not a bad thing to go last because I get to leave a lasting impression.
Ooh.
But, you know, I think a couple of things when I'm doing a presentation. First of all, the goal is that nobody falls asleep, right? So it goes back to what Conrad was saying about entertaining. You know, engaging with the audience, making sure you've got eye contact, that they're laughing, that they're having fun, that they're asking questions. Those are the absolute positive things that I want to get out of a presentation. And yes, of course, getting the message across, being polished, you know, knowing what it is you want to say and having some takeaway for the audience is great. But if I can engage, if they think that I understand them and that they can understand me, that to me is the biggest takeaway.
Nice. Well, thank you, everyone. You've just talked about what you want to accomplish the next time you do a presentation. Start with the end in mind. And once you begin, give it your best. It is your best for the moment, for the day. If you've done your best, then everything will fall in place. And trust that you're bringing your heart for Rotary and your desire to serve others. And Doug, it's not about you in that presentation. It's about them. It's about making impact with them. And if you do that, you will make impact. And that's what you're all about. So thank you very much for this time. It's been my pleasure to be a part of your leadership development. I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing. And just so that you know you've made impact on us, Michelle and I are scheduled to do that cleanup next Saturday. So we will be there cleaning up under the Rotary flag.
Outstanding.
Thank you so much. Everyone, please give a And if you want to unmute and give her, you know, clap, that's fine. But that was such a wonderful way for us to have our last session. Thank you so much to Jan. And I agree with Benson and Michelle. It was really helpful to have all of that in there. So thank you so much to the both of you. If you don't mind, it's a really sad group shot, but if we could just all smile at the camera real quick. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm going to share one. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more. I'm going to share one right now because I forgot to share it the first time around. So let's see here.
Aloha, Andy Hart, District Governor nominee for 2023, coming to you from the Big Island of Hawaii. My elevator pitch. What is Rotary? Rotary is a service organization making a difference locally and around the world. Locally, we're involved in everything from helping feed the hungry.
Are you able to get the volume up, Wendy?
I know, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Here.
Developing young leaders through Rotary Youth Leadership Academy and High School Internet Club. Ecologically, supporting our environment, but planting trees and cleaning roadside and beaches. The list goes on and on, with the key being that each club is independent and defines how they will make a difference in the community. Internationally, Rotary is renowned for its efforts for the eradication of polio. It will go well beyond the single such as promoting world peace, environmental cleanup, preservation, leveraging our polio system distribution and support COVID-19 vaccination around the world. It's hard to provide a single definition of what Rotary is, other than to say Rotary is 1.2 million people making a difference around the world.
I'll share and I do